to wrap up the show, I want to talk about sports, or more specifically, something that happened in sports this past week that I thought was pretty funny, and I wanted to get Zeus's take on it. All right, so to give you some background, each year in the European soccer leagues, they've got multiple tournaments going on at once. You've got your league, right? So let's stick with England for instance. So you've got the English Premier League, which Liverpool partakes in. They've been one of the best teams over the past 5 years. It's been them and Manchester City. On the final day of the season, they missed out on winning the league. They won their game, but Manchester City beat them by 1 point because you get 3 points for a win, a point for a draw, 0 points for a loss. So over the course of 38 games, Manchester City ended up at 93 points, Liverpool 92. And 92 points is a boatload of points. All right. Mm-hmm. So Manchester United, for instance, that has won the league 13 times. 7 of those times, they won it with less than 86 points.
Okay.
Liverpool have lost the league twice in the last 5 years with 97 points and 92 points. So just to give you context of how good they've been.
That's like the Los Angeles Chargers having that number, like the top 5 defense and offense and not even making the playoffs.
Right. So just to give you an idea of how good they've been and not winning. All right. So this year, they were on pace for something called the quadruple. It's never been done. It's you win the 2 domestic cups, you win the league, and you win the UEFA Champions League. So the UEFA Champions League, I think we've talked about this before. This is Europe's big tournament. So the top 4 from England, Spain, Italy, I think. And
so it's kind of like
CONCACAF Champions League. Yeah, but this is UEFA. So
that's North America, right?
CONCACAF is North America and Central America. Yeah. So this was top 4 from those 3. There's like top 3 from another set, and then whatever. And then it ends up being like a 32-team group stage, and then you work your way.
It's a World Cup.
Yeah, it's a year-long thing. So it starts in like September and ends in May. So we got to the final of that, and it was Liverpool versus Real Madrid. Now, up to this point, Liverpool had already won the FA Cup and the League Cup. And they just missed out on winning the Premier League by 1 point because Man City got 1 point more than them. And then they were going into the Champions League final. And they lost to Real Madrid, the champions of Spain. And then on Tuesday, they were back home, or maybe Monday, they were back home, and they threw a parade for them. There was the bus, there was red flags because the color is red. The players are there, like dance, bumping the music, and it was kind of like a surreal thing. It was like, you guys just lost the final. But then I also get it, because I guess they came close to history, and they won 2 other trophies. So it could be about that. But the thing is, when they played those trophies, they had like a league game like 3 days later, so they couldn't do a parade. So it was like a parade delay sort of thing. So I want to get your take on that. Like, do you think it's weird for a losing team to do a parade? And furthermore, would you have been okay with the Falcons having had the amazing season that they had in 2016? If they lost the Super Bowl, would you have been okay with us doing a parade for them being NFC champions?
My question to you is, was their loss as tragic as the Falcons?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. So do you think you would have been okay with the Falcons doing a parade if they lost 34-28, but it was like a back and forth, a shootout?
Back and forth. If it was a back and forth and they were doing it, and then Atlanta said, "Look, we get it. We lost the Super Bowl, and we're so sad about that. But we're really proud to celebrate this amazing season.
We're really proud of you guys.
We were proud of you guys." And then you know what? The good thing about parades is nobody who wants to be there doesn't have to show up.
Do you think that enough of the Falcons fans? Because let's be honest, the Falcons have a pretty fickle fan base. There are some people who are like very stout Falcons fans, like my buddy who had the wedding that his wife had, Freddie Falcon there.
I hope I'm included in that list, sir.
I don't know. Would you say you're one of those? So yeah, I think so. I think you're actually wearing a Falcons shirt right now.
Right.
So there's some people who are like that die hard, 4-12 season, or now 17 games, so 4-13 season, whatever. That's still my team. There are people like that, and then there's some people who are like, the moment it looks like the Falcons are going to playoffs, they start crapping on the team.
Hell, the moment that they look like, oh, we're gonna have a losing season because we're 2 quarters into the first game of the season.
Right,
and
exactly.
We're not performing the way we think.
And I feel like this city has way too many of those fans. So those guys, I feel like, would crap on the city for throwing a parade for the team, even though it's like a big deal. Like,
don't bring your ass around then. Don't go.
It's one of those things where, like, if the Hawks had made the NBA Finals last year, I would have been cool with throwing them a parade. It's further than they've ever gone. I think it's further than they've ever gone, and it would have been
the Atlanta ones,
yeah. It was a big underdog story for the Atlanta Hawks to make it that far anyway. So, so you would have been cool.
You know what? Hold on. Let me bring it back.
Uh-huh.
The Atlanta Braves went to the World Series for the first time since 1996.
Yes.
And imagine if it had gone down to 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
And at no point was it one of those things like, oh, nothing like us against the Dodgers where, we were up 3-1.
It was 1-0, 1-1, 2-0, that kind of thing. Yeah.
If they had thrown them a parade for being, and it would be a celebration of the season.
So we lost Game 7 against.
But we lost Game 7, and it was a heated battle. It was a good back and forth. See, that's what I got to bring you back to. I gotta ask you, would you be okay with that? Because you're one of the bigger Braves fans. No.
I would be okay with it. I probably wouldn't love it. Yeah. And it's the same thing. So I'm also a Newcastle United fan, and one of our club legends, Alan Shearer, I think in response to like what was going on with Liverpool, he was talking about the fact that when Newcastle lost the FA Cup final 2 years in a row, back to back, each time they came back to Newcastle, because they do the final at Wembley Stadium in London. So they're now flying back like 300 miles back up to Newcastle, which is basically Scotland. And they were walking as heroes, like they threw a parade for them, and they lost. And Alan Shearer himself, I think he's born in Newcastle.
Was that the fans?
Yeah, the fans threw a parade for them.
So I'm cool with a parade if it's the fans that throw it. Kind of like the Cleveland Browns threw a parade for the Cleveland Brown fans threw a parade for the Cleveland Brown fans. For the Cleveland Browns for going 0-16. Like they just said they threw them the
well, but that's like ironic though.
I think it's ironic, but I think it's one of those things is like where you have enough fans who are like here in this one. You said it was Real Madrid that we're talking about, right?
That lost? No, Liverpool.
Yeah. Liverpool. So Liverpool. Shows you how much I was paying attention to the team. But Liverpool, this was thrown by
they played Real Madrid in the
Thank
final.
You. I knew I heard it somewhere.
Yeah.
Liverpool's parade. Whom was it thrown by?
I think the city threw it.
That one, if people have a problem with it, I get it. If it had been enough fans to tell the city, I was like, look, we know we lost. We lost this, but we won these other 2 trophies.
Yeah.
The same way
and that's the thing, they did win. They did win trophies.
if the Atlanta Falcon fans had been like, look, yeah, we lost the Super Bowl, but screw it. This is the first time we got an NFC championship in this many years. We're gonna go, or the Braves. What is it? The National League? They won
the National League championship. Yeah.
So they won the national. You know what? We lost the World Series, but we won the National League championship. We're gonna throw them a parade. That I get, but if the city's throwing them one because we just want a parade because we were so close. It's goofy.
And I think, it's kind of goofy. I think also, just to put a fine point on it, though, it is a little different what Liverpool did and like winning the National Championship Series, because Liverpool won the FA Cup and the League Cup. Those are like separate from the Champions League. It's not like you have to win this to get to the Champions League final. Like it's its own competition. They outright won that. There wasn't time to celebrate them because they're literally playing these in the middle of the season. Whereas the Braves winning the National League Championship Series, it's a win. It's an actual thing you get a banner for.
Right.
But it's what gets you in the World Series.
Right.
So then to now play the World Series and lose, it's almost like saying, okay, but we're going to be content with this thing from before. And we're just going to act like this thing didn't happen. Yeah, so I can see why people would be like, nah, F that. We don't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, it was kind of sick.
Here is that me and Zino agree that if you want to throw a parade, fine. But if you're going to be made
just
fun
win
of,
it.
Deal with it.
Yeah, win it all.
All right.
All right, cool.
So
well,
we talked about the Falcons. I want to round up a little bit on the Falcons.
Yes,
I just want to give a quick recap of the Falcons. I want to ask you real quickly, because I know I keep up with the Falcons offseason a lot more than you do.
Yes.
From what you've heard about the Falcons, what is your let's put it like this. What is your feeling going into actual official offseason practices that are about to happen? Because OTAs, I think, just ended, if I'm not mistaken. I know that they just had they had their open practice or open OTAs or something like that at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which I'm wondering if they're going to do 2 this year, because you know how they started having practices at the Mercedes-Benz, but those usually are on a Saturday or a Sunday. This one was on a Friday during the middle of the day, and a lot of people were upset about it. But I think these might be different. I think they're going to do another one, or that's like, guys, we're practicing. Like, you guys come, cool. If y'all can't. Y'all got to work. It's okay. So we're going deeper into the off season now. We're about to go into the summer months, and that means this is when they're starting to get all the players to come in. What are your thoughts into that? And do you think, to throw this out there too, do you think Deion Jones is going to be traded?
So I've been seeing about the Deion Jones saga here and there. I think when you have like quote unquote leaks like that going on about potential trades and all, they're more often true than not.
Right.
Sometimes it's even the player's agent trying to get some traction with stuff like that by like kind of like putting out leaks. So yes, I do think it's going to get traded. Obviously, he might not be all the way happy at the team, or maybe the team isn't all the way happy with his performance. Maybe they feel like they can get better pieces elsewhere. So I'm leaning towards yes on that. How do I feel about the Falcons going into the season or going into the preseason? Pretty good, actually. I'm one of those people that's like, I tend to be optimistic, to a fault. I can acknowledge that.
You don't have a losing season until you have a losing season.
Right, exactly. Everyone is at 100% or 500 or whatever you want at the start of the season. I am sort of optimistic. I don't think we have a quarterback problem. I actually think it will be to the benefit of the team to have both Ritter and Mariota there. I think Mariota is going to be the starter on day one. I know it's very easy to like crap on Mariota and like he hasn't had a good career up to now, but I watched Mariota in college. That dude's good. If he can get 80% of that consistency he had when he started in college, I think there's enough there that he can be a benefit to the team at large. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say is people want to shit on Mariota, but the reason why they're doing that is because he got replaced because he was having a bad season, and then it just happened that Tannehill came in and ended up having a great season, so much of a great season that he got the comeback player of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But up until that point, Mariota had never had a losing season with Tennessee.
Yeah,
and he won them a playoff game.
Like, and another example of that is Patrick Mahomes. So Alex Smith was fantastic, for all intents and purposes, was fantastic for Kansas City for like 3 seasons prior. Like they made it to the playoffs each of those years. I think they won a playoff game each of those years as well. And then it's either then that Alex Smith got hurt, or he got hurt, right? And then they started playing Mahomes, and Mahomes just took over the job at that point. He Tom Brady'd it, if you will. It doesn't mean that Alex Smith is now trash or whatever, right? So, and I'm also not saying Mariota is as good as Alex Smith, but I'm saying there's talent there. You don't get drafted number 2 if there's no talent there.
And I think what you're saying is also there's not the big question mark in the quarterback as there was immediately after we traded Matt Ryan.
Correct. Yes. And then the other thing too is that I saw, I think it was earlier today, some rumor about Felipe Franks being moved to tight end.
Mm-hmm. They practiced him at tight end on Friday.
Yeah. For me, I don't have any particular thoughts about that. I never really watched I think University of Florida. I never really watched them that deeply like that. But my thoughts on that is that this shows a willingness to, move pieces around, try things, not just give up on people, but like say, hey, you might be of use elsewhere. Like we might be able to do something fancy there. So,
and also,
I like what I'm seeing.
Let's say you have Felipe Franks as a third string quarterback. I mean, I'm sorry, a backup tight end, right? And really, he's probably in there just to be a blocking tight end.
Yeah.
Even though he kind of he kind of weighs a little bit too little to really be too much of a blocking tight end. But let's just say you have him for that. Then let's say, God forbid, something happens to Mariota, he gets hurt if he's a starter, and then you have Ritter starting. You have you still have a backup quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's being there. And the same way they did that with I forget the name.
Taysom Hill.
Who?
Taysom Hill.
No. They did it with the Falcons. I mean, they did it with somebody else where they moved him from, I believe, cornerback to running back. But in reality, it's because, or at least that's what I think, because obviously I know what the Falcons are doing. But he's the returner. So they're like, they basically like, well, we feel comfortable with keeping him on the team to be the returner. We're gonna go ahead and make him a running back because we can keep an open run. We have an extra running back. Yeah. But then also we have another spot now for a cornerback, so we can bring in a cornerback and we still have this one player doing two other things, right? So you kind of get the player from moving them around.
You get a utility player out of it too. And
so I'm in agreement with what you said. I actually don't feel like there's a quarterback. I keep pointing out that I feel the way that the Falcons did it, they might have ended up lucking out, but it might have been part of the plan the whole time. Which, what I mean by that is, we've moved so far away, and by this I mean the league has moved so far away from having quarterbacks be developed that they think, a quarterback has to be a starter. Obviously, if Ritter had been drafted as our number 1 overall, yeah, he has to be the starter day one. There's no question.
Yeah.
But he fell in the 3rd round, and maybe the Falcons felt he's going to fall in the 3rd round, so we're going to get him there. But now they're like, we have a guy we can help develop, because him and Mariota are the same. Mariota's not like Tannehill, who's like, I'm not here to help anybody become better at their job. He's like, no, you help each other get better. And only the quarterback. That means the quarterback room gets better. Period.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, I get Tannehill got flack for that, but to be fair, Tannehill,
he's not wrong.
He's been a starter the last however many years. I think the question was kind of, it was a little asinine. Whereas Mariota, he's a little more humble because he hasn't been a starter. So, you got to tread a little more lightly.
And I think Mariota is like they say. The one thing about him is he realizes you. It's kind of like, you have those kind of people at normal jobs, right? Like I'm sure you have people at your job who are like, oh no, I'm about me and I'm gonna stay and I'm good at my job.
Yeah.
If you learn from me, cool, but I'm not here to teach you. But then there's other people who realize like, I feel like when I teach people how to do their job, it makes them better at their job and it makes everything better. So it makes all of us, right? Those are just different work ethics that people have.
A rising tide elevates all boats.
Right. But they don't necessarily mean that they have a bad, they're wrong. But I don't think we have I think the best case scenario will be that Mariota will get and again, I'm like you, maybe naively optimistic, but I'm still optimistic. Again, everybody is sitting at 0-0. That's the record for everybody right now. But I think the best cost scenario would be with Mariota is Mariota gets the Falcons, because I honestly think this defense is going to be really damn good. You short off, you have pretty much two shutdown cornerbacks. And then now you hopefully do have an edge rusher. So now I think honestly I think defense is one of those positions that if you get maybe 1 or 2 players, that can fix everything. The same way with offense, I think it's different. I think if you have a bad O-line, you have a bad O-line and the offense is going to suffer. Like a quarterback can only do so much. Like Aaron Rodgers behind the Falcons offensive line last year, he might have gone a winning season, but I think it would have been like it was with when he went against us in 2016, where they would have gotten figured out and lost, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think the offensive line is different. Where the offensive line is like that's what Mac did. Mac came in and he shorted up, and then they had the best offensive line in 2016, right? Historically one of the greatest. But I think with defense, it's easier for you to get one or two players to come in and fix it. And I think they actually did that, where they shored up a lot with what was it? Casey
Hayward?
Is that his name?
I'm not sure if that's who you're talking about.
Carter. The guy who they brought in as a cornerback to be opposite of
yeah, I think it's Hayward. Yeah.
Okay. So they got him in. They got that figured out because they realized, okay, we have this generational talent on one end. Let's bring somebody else who's pretty damn good. And if they rated the top 20, I think, of last year, guess where he was? AJ Terrell was number 1, and old boy was number 3. That's a pretty damn good. That's a lockdown corner. That's a lockdown secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So now if you have the rush, I think it could boost it up to at least middle of the pack, right? So I'm optimistic that I think the defense can carry this team, or at least help this team win games. And I think the best case scenario will be that Mariota will get enough wins to get the Falcons to be competitive, hopefully get to the playoffs, maybe not win the whole thing, but at least enough where, like, when he comes in next year, it's just another year for Ritter to build up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he does take over, he still has 3 years on his contract, and he's also not a number 1 overall pick or a first round pick. He can't be demanding. I mean, he probably can if he wants to, but he can't really be demanding top first round pick money because, you're a third rounder, bro. So, it's just kind of like the best case scenario there. I think it is. And Mariota was brought in as a stopgap, but I think that the Falcons have been saying it, and they really do mean this, is like, look, we're not in a rebuild phase. Rebuild means tearing it down and bringing it back up. They're basically in a kind of I think it's a recycling phase where they're recycling certain players and bringing in slightly better players because Arthur Smith is probably like, look, I had a team that had no business winning any games, but he had him in just about. We were in the playoff hunt. I think it was the second or third to last game.
Yeah, second to last game. Had we won the last 2, we could have
been in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that is my thoughts on the Falcons.
Okay.
You can believe that they're not going to do anything, and guess what? You might be right, but for right now, everybody is standing at the same record, 0-0. So,
all right, cool. And that's it. That's all we wanted to talk about. We got in some good stuff. We talked about slogans. We talked about the midterm elections. We talked about throwing a parade when you lose. And of course, we wrapped up with the Falcons.
And we brought back our theme of a heavy dose of politics, because this was a heavy dose of politics.
Yeah. It was
We're
a good
back,
bit.
guys.
It was a good bit. All right. Cool. Any last words?
Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, like, share, and subscribe. Everyone, thanks for listening. It's been fun, and we'll play out with our normal theme. Now another one of the music breaks. All right, guys. And that's a wrap.